Hey guys, Brandon here. This is Maui's tank. Maui's a crested gecko, and I set it up about a little more than a year ago, probably closer to a year and a half. I believe it was around May, but the problem is with it is I planted it up a ton and it's completely bioactive, and it still is. There's still a lot of isopods and springtails in it, but Maui's trampled a lot of the plants and there's some poop buildup as well. So I decided today for my video we're just going to do decent cleanup and restock some of the botanicals, like all the leaf litter in the bottom, to show you how much it's changed. So Maui is hiding behind this piece of bark, but for now he should be out of the way, so I'm going to go as long as possible keeping him in here. So the first thing we're going to do is clean up the poop. I have some tweezers and all these white spots right here. Some of them are little pieces of styrofoam, but most of it's just some crested gecko poop, so we're going to try to clean that up first. So it looks like there's a little bit of poop or something gross in here at the bottom, so I'm going to try to clean this out, as well as first I'm just going to move out all of his dishes as well. Probably all the leaf litter is going to be coming out, and botanicals, except for the magnolia pods, because they still look pretty good and intact. Alright, so most of this is done. I'm just getting the last couple bits of leaves out of here. Really, there's not that much that I have to do left as for the bottom of the tank, but the main thing is now we're going to have to aerate some of this soil, because lots of the time there's less nutrients in the bottom of it. It's all just been resting on top, so now we're just going to stir it around. So now we're just going to get out our tweezers and stir it up like this. Try to break up some of these clumps as well, like that. Alright, so there's our soil that's been kicked around. Now we're just going to add a little bit more new soil, because lots of the stuff has just been degraded because the plants were eating it. And it's just a good idea to top it off sometimes, because lots of the time when leaves decay, like all the leaves in here did, it's just a good idea to add more nutrients to it, because usually, like, if you go outside in the woods, you'll see a lot of, you dig underneath some leaves, you're going to see a lot of, like, moist soil. That's just the leaves breaking down into the soil. And granted, the leaves did do some of that, but it's not like we have the amount of space in here to replicate full seasons in a full environment, so we are going to have to do some human interaction in this. In fact, you can see Maui's just peeking out from there. He's probably wondering why I'm messing around with his house. Now we're just going to sprinkle some of the new dirt. This is the exact same soil that's already in here. It's just older and hasn't really had any other it's just been inside my garage, basically, in the bag. It's the exact same kind that I already have. We're just gonna mix it in. I'll show you. So the dark stuff is new and the brown coffee ground colored stuff is old. We're just gonna mix some more in, just like that. This is just like the generic ABV mix you can find at PetSmart or whatever. You can make it yourself. It's just a mixture of charcoal and I believe coconut, husk, powder, some mulch, and other things like that. There's some ways to make it at home, but for me at least, it's just easier to run over to the pet store and buy it. Some people on YouTube who are really good at making terrariums will do it on their own, but lots of the time it's cheaper for them because, you know, they have like these like massive like 5,000 gallon setups. This is just a small crested gecko tank. I don't need a ton of it. This is the bag that I have. Like, I've only used like half of it. So now that we have all of our new soil mixed in, what we're going to do is just grab some more leaf litter and moss. So first we're going to add back these two magnolia pods. They're still doing pretty well in here. They haven't degraded that much compared to lots of the other ones that I've put in a while ago, like compared to the ones in the frog tank, which that's going to be a new video soon. Just rearrange them like that. That looks pretty good. They aren't parallel. Don't really line up with anything in here. They fall like they would naturally. Also, once we get all this area cleaned up in here, we're going to clean down the sides because they look pretty gross. And I just want to know some of you guys' opinions while I'm putting in Maui's remaining things. What would you guys think if I set up another channel just for playing video games? I really like to do that when I'm not doing things with animals. And I have a pretty decent computer as well, and I was wondering if you guys would enjoy me playing video games. I just have to find a video game that I'm good enough at that I won't embarrass myself playing online. Because there's a lot of games that I love playing, but I'm not good at them. And there's some games that I'm good at, but really aren't entertaining enough to play online. Alright, so now we're going to add some of these leaves in. I'm probably going to have to break these up some. These are magnolia leaves, same thing that the pods are from. Got these at a park with some friends. We're just going to break them up into pieces like this. Like that. Just going to stick them in here where I can. Make it look like they fell somewhat naturally. I have to break some of these up some more. But I'll do that. I'll be back once I'm done. Alright, that looks decent enough. I made sure to leave this area over here a bit empty just so I can fill it in with my new leaves. These ones over here I just collected in my backyard. No pesticides have been on them, but I'm just going to sprinkle them along in the back. And I'll show you how it looks once I'm done. Actually, while I am sprinkling some of these leaves in here, I was wondering another thing. This tank is 12 by 12 by 18 if I remember right. Maui's been in here for a while. He's hiding right now, but he's been getting pretty big, and I'm thinking I should probably upgrade to like an 18 by 18 by 24, which could probably sustain him for the rest of his life and would look really, really good and provide a lot more space for us to work with for like a new design. And I never really planned on this being the permanent setup for him anyway. I was wondering what you guys would think of that, because it's going to take a decent amount of money. I'd probably have to sell this tank. It would be awesome like to keep both of them, but you guys, I'm not even sure if I told you guys this, but I'm 17 now, and I'm already working on what I'm going to do after I graduate high school. So I'm not sure what I'm going to, like in the future, when I eventually do move out of my parents' place, how nice my new place is going to be, if I'm going to have enough room for all of my animals, even if I'll be allowed to keep animals. It really depends. I'm not sure what I'll be allowed to do. And remember, I even have a ton of other things. I have a 55-gallon aquarium, a 150-gallon pond in my backyard. I'm not sure what all I'm going to be able to have with me. In a perfect world, I would just be able to like move out and have a detached garage next to my nice big house where I could just put all of my animals, but that will probably not happen just because I don't really have a full-time job right now. I just work part-time at a fast food restaurant and can't really afford a house fresh out of high school. Yeah, but I'd probably just have to sell this habitat, buy a new one, and then fill it up with plants and stuff for Maui, which still, that'd be pretty expensive. I don't make a ton of money at my job right now, so it'd take a bit to get all the money together to make a nice new habitat. I would love to turn this into like a habitat for like a mourning gecko, or in fact, probably a pair of them, just so I could breed them. That would be so cool, but I don't think I'd be able to do that. Alright, so I filled this up with leaf litter. Now I think I'm going to add some plants to it. Last time, I think I did plants that were a bit too tropical, and they just partially dried out in combination of Maui stomping on them every night. So I just have some moss and ferns here from my backyard. These don't have any pesticides on them. In fact, this moss is from an aquarium where they were growing like in a paludarium. It will be harder for them to transition, but if there's anything that survives this, it would be the moss, because the moss will always bounce back. And it's very strong, very dark green, almost like a Christmas tree color. And it looks really nice. Alright, so I'm going to stick this fern back here. There, that looks pretty decent right near his water bowl. So now on the other side, I'm probably just going to plant another fern. Alright, so there's the other fern. That looks pretty good, nestled in between his food bowl and the magnolia pod. And we have the other one right over there. Now I'm just going to plant the moss. Alright, so I just planted a couple pieces around that fern. I'm going to place some around the other one as well. Alright, that looks pretty good. That was just the last little bit. I didn't do a ton of moss. Like, usually I do a ton of moss with everything else, if you've seen pretty much any of my other videos. But I decided to do it really light just because I know Maui's going to trample a lot of it. So just put a little bit in there. Sometimes the leaves are going to get pushed over it. So hopefully just that little bit, it won't have to compete with other bits of moss as much. And I think that should be good for moss. And now the last thing is this massive piece of pothos. I did pothos in here before, and it just had some trouble. I think I just did too little, so it just had trouble getting itself all collected. And Maui just keep on jumping on that one piece, but I think having this one large piece will just spread out the damage. It's okay if he kills this. I have like a massive piece of it anyway. I have a ton. Like every single thing I make has pothos. Don't believe me? So look, in here I have all this pothos growing. Then it grows out, goes back all the way over here. Now in this, as this massive piece that goes all the way over here, I got pothos growing out of my sister's aquarium, and pothos growing out of my brother's aquarium, and pothos growing in here, and pothos growing in this jar on my desk. So yeah, I can afford to lose a tiny piece of pothos. So basically, I'm just going to plant the roots in the ground and then try to let it grow, or at least train it to grow up here and then loop around. Alright, that looks pretty awful. So this is pretty floppy, and I just buried the root end of it, and hopefully it'll just learn to grow where the light is. It should work, but, you know, it's kind of a viney plant, and there's not much for it to attach to right now, so hopefully soon it'll just basically start straightening out, or at least grow in the background and on the stump that Maui has, instead of just flopping on top of it like where I threw it. Alright, so now the last step is just to mist it all off. Try to get all the ferns and moss, because they're all going to be drying out a lot. It's going to be pretty rough on them. Just like that. Actually, I lied. The one last thing is we have to clean up some of this debris that's on the glass and on this rim. Try to get all this out of the way. So it'll be a bit easier for Maui, because he also pooped all over the glass and stuff like that. Just get that done. So if you like poorly made content, feel free to like and subscribe and share the video with some other people who enjoy this kind of low effort content that I put out every Sunday except when I forget. So really, for the 3 people who are watching, thank you a lot. I really enjoy all your comments and support, especially when I make like community posts or shorts or things like that. That's always my favorite thing to do. Alright, and I hope to see you guys all on the next one. Goodbye.